Today is May 1, and as usual, globally, we mark, and celebrate workers across the nation. And today we will be looking at the plight of workers here in Nigeria and their demands that they have, made public so far, and basically, all of this in light with the current economic realities. But I have my guest on standby. He is a public affairs analyst, Onyinye Umejiburu. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily.
A pleasure to be here.
Okay, I'll just start off, by you accessing the current state of the Nigerian worker. Like I stated in my introduction, in line with the current economic realities, high inflation, not so much increase when it comes to the Nigerian workers' wages, although we did see some increase a few days ago. But like basically looking at the current economic realities, how would you say the Nigerian worker is faring?
Well, with the things happening around in the economy, it's obvious that it's not going to be easy, and it hasn't been easy for the average worker in Nigeria, both in the private sector and in the public sector. It's been a tough time considering issues of the dwindling economy, the whole forex management and all hasn't been very easy for the average Nigerian worker, I must say. It's not a very palatable moment for them, but I believe that all over the world, it's not been very easy for any worker anywhere, but I believe we'll get through it someday.
Okay, but one thing that has been on the minds of most Nigerians, or most Nigerian workers, I should say, is there anything worth celebrating today? Let's hear your view on that.
Well, it's been there. Even when the economy was good at the time, we had the Workers' Day. So it's a statutory celebration. Even if you don't want to celebrate, at least take a moment to reflect about the service you provide, about the work you do. Even if you're not celebrating, it should be a time to refresh yourself and think if you are really doing the right thing, and if you're really on the right job, and if you're getting what you're supposed to get. A reflective moment, I must say. Yeah,
a reflective moment, like my guest has stated. But first, let's go on a short break. When we return, the conversation will continue. Like I said, my guest is still on standby, so do stay. And you're still watching Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. And just before the break, I did say that today the conversation will be on the Nigerian worker. Like I stated also, today is May 1, a day to globally mark and celebrate workers across the world. But joining me now to discuss of the fate or the current state of the Nigerian labor sector and just what the demands of the organized labor sector has been over time is Onyinye Umejiburu, who is a public affairs analyst. Thank you once again for joining us on Business Daily. And I'll just start off, you talked about the challenges that the Nigerian worker has faced over time, even though you said today was a day to reflect on, the current state of things as to, am I in the right sector? Am I getting paid the right things? Am I basically just reflect? Well, let's hear from you. What are the major challenges that you would say the Nigerian worker is facing?
Well, depending on the sector that the worker is in, some are facing hazard issues, people who are exposed to hazardous environment in their workspace. Some are facing financial issues when their salaries are delayed in some sector, again, as I would say. Some are also facing issues of self-appreciation, like not being motivated. Some are facing emotional issues. Some are facing social issues. Shying away from where they work, they can't say it out. Do you understand what I'm saying? So these are diverse issues, but it's dependent on totally on where you are working and what sector you are working on, and the immediate environment. I mean, your workspace environment. That's what will determine the challenge. But these are various challenges. Some face more than one or two at the same time. In their place of work. People who work for the federal government have their own issues. Some of them are scared of retirement because when you retire, it takes a whole lot of time before you get your benefits. Some are not getting their pensions as at when due. Some of their pensions are laughable. So these are also post-service challenges. And while in the service again, some are facing issues of victimization. And I mean, victimization is across board, in every sector we have those issues. So it's most times on what exactly you are going through at the moment. You may go through up to 5 of these challenges within your service years. You may be fortunate not to go through up to 2 within your service years, but somehow, and it's a global thing. It's not just about Nigeria. In the whole world, every worker somewhere is feeling somehow cheated somewhere.
I was going to go there because I thought to ask, is there any perfect workspace or any workspace without challenges?
Well, most times they may not call it perfect because every human being is created to aim at something. So even when you think it's a perfect environment for that person, you see a regional bank manager who you think is doing very well resigning, you see, so it's not necessarily that you expect perfect, but we are expecting fairness, at least, at the barest minimum. Let's have fairness over looking for perfection. Perfection is when you own all the money in the world, live in the best house, and all. And the funny thing is, even after all those things, you may find out that you're not totally perfect with the idea. You start looking for something else. So perfection may not be the question, but fairness should be basic at the moment.
Okay, let's look particularly at workers, civil servants, especially government workers. You have talked about the challenges that these workers face, but looking at these challenges, what do you believe that the government should do immediate? I'm talking about short-term and long-term priorities, to provide the lives of Nigerian workers and address their concerns, because there has been quite a number of concerns, especially coming from the Nigeria Labour Congress. But looking at all of these concerns that have been named and mentioned, I would like for you to speak about short-term and long-term priorities that the government should look into.
Yeah, well, fundamentally, for me, it may sound very different from what every other person will talk about. Number one is, do we need this number of workers that we have? Is it wise to have 300,000 and not able to pay them well? Or rather settle 100,000 to go get something doing and manage 200,000 and pay them well? Is it better off that we increase their salary? One thing about some of these wages that are increased and all those things, it doesn't solve the economic. These are just, I call them economic palliative. It doesn't last, because what 50,000 could buy you 10 years ago, I think 500,000 may not even buy it now. So you see that even pushing up making the whole increment without other arrangements, if peradventure there is a provision for especially the low-class workers, because those are the ones, those level 6 to level 10 guys, those are the main guys that feel this pain more. If there are good arrangements for maybe mortgage for their houses, and maybe if the education sector is functioning well and their children go to school at the barest minimum of financial involvement, they may not have so much need as expected. But in a situation where they are paying rent, they're paying school fees, there is a lot of pressure. And the funny thing is that pressure that they get also affects the output they give in the office. That's why you find a lot of redundancy in the office. So I'm to say, why have a lot of people redundant while you can reduce with the advent of technology now? We may not necessarily in the civil service. We should now, on the long-term arrangements, start looking at how to move some of these things to technology and make the environment workable so that organizations, companies can open up and employ these people. This idea of finding out that it's only in an organized sector like the Nigerian civil service that you can have a career. It's not good. In developed countries of the world, these people have career in private organizations. There are private firms that have run for 100 years, for 200 years. Why are we not having that? Why are we having our companies run 10, 15 years and shut down? And do you understand? But if the structure was well organized, back in the days, people worked in places like Michelin and retired there. People worked in private sector and retired fully. It's not everybody coming now to the civil service to aim to be PAMSEC. Everybody can't be PAMSEC. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if the government wants to actually look at it now, they should start first of all thinking of how to get these guys look a bit off from this thing, how we should even manage the ones we have. Yes, do their increments, but also touch the other sides of the country, the economy, touch the other sides, the other facets of the system that will help subsidize what they go through. If school fees is going up every day, if you like, keep increasing your salary, and house rent is going up every day, it can never meet up. But when there is a mortgage arrangement, and this person knows that, maybe between now and the next 20 years, I should be able to own my house and I won't pay rent. I think that's good motivation. And I think that's a good plan. And there are private sector guys in this real estate business who, if they are well organized and harnessed, can get into this side of business also and help the government, because the government can't really do everything.
Indeed, like you've stated, the government cannot do everything. But over time, we've also, had a specific demand from the NLC. I remember some months ago, I had a representative of the NLC here, and he talked to, their demands of 1 million naira for minimum wage. And of recent, we also did see that had reduced to about 600,000 naira. However, recently, I believe 2 days ago, we saw news on the increment of salaries for civil servants, about 15 to 25% in the increase. So I will want to hear from you. Does this in any way pass a message that the government is indeed aware of the plight of the Nigerian workers, doing this, 2 days before Workers' Day?
No, well, there is nobody who doesn't feel it. There is no one in your nuclear and extended family that doesn't have a relationship or doesn't work with government. It's obvious. The plight is obvious. It's out there on the streets. People know these things. The NLC is a pressure group that must keep looking for something better for their people. So it's a union that has to fight, for their people. So, and again, when they mention 1 million, of course, it's not visible to pay 1 million. When they mention 600,000, but what they are trying to do is to let you know that what we are taking home now is inconsequential based on what is on ground. What we are taking home can't do much for us. So you must tactically find a way to harness this. And I think the government has done well by, getting the increment to between 25 and 35, depending on the strata and all that. So I think that's a development that is quite good and impressive.
Okay.
It's good.
Indeed, it is good, like you've stated. But beyond increase in salaries now, like you rightly stated, all of these sectors need to work hand in hand before we can, see this growth and development.
There is a domino effect. When this works, this works, this works. This working wouldn't be too much. But when this is not working and this is not working, pressure comes to the one side that is trying to work. But if everything is working, there will be equilibrium of every environment. Things will be easier. Check it out.
Okay.
If the transport system is well organized, the civil servant may be spending as much as he or she is spending at the moment. And you see, you've solved a little problem. So this person is saving a little from here, saving a little from the mortgage, saving a little from scholarship. Basic education should be something that we should have forgotten that we shouldn't be discussing. But if up till now people must have to pay huge sums amount to have their pupils go to school, and they are paying that, you find out that the salary, the little they get, is under pressure already. And that doesn't. But
beyond policy changes now, because we are used to pointing fingers to government, but I believe that beyond policy changes, there are things that can be done, from civil organizations, from organized private sector, towards ensuring that, like you said, the domino effect, to ensure that we start to see these changes. So what would you recommend can come from the organized private sector, from civil societies and all of these other players, all these other key players?
No, these people they are sub players, I must call them. They are not totally key players, because the government, the government has the major share of this conversation. It's not like a situation where civil servants have an opportunity to get into businesses that are not agri-related. Do you understand? And even that one that is agri-related, there is an issue of insecurity. That again has a domino effect on this. I have a friend that is a director. Every Saturday you won't see him. He's always in his farm. But for the past 4 years, he has not gone to his farm because of threats. They threatened to kidnap him. So now you see that other side that helps him to balance up. And he has a very large farm. He can't visit his farm anymore. So that's why the domino effect touches, that's what I mean by it touches everywhere. So there is nothing so much that you can do apart from preparing these guys while they are serving to probably invest in other businesses. But again, I will say, investing in other businesses, how are they sure that these businesses will pay well? That is also another risk. When those businesses fail, we have a lot of Ponzi schemes that has come in the past and actually dealt with a lot of civil servants. Up till now, nobody went for their funds. Nobody stood for them. Nobody went to bring back their money for them. Are you with me? So there is this fear of, why don't I hold the one I have rather than try to put it out there in saving myself and apparently lose it also. So that fear of not being able to spread out investment will also keep the civil servant pendant on his or her own salary and wages. So in the private sector, or rather the organized civil society, they can't do much apart from motivate their members. What would they do?
Talking about motivation, I'd like for you to, send a message out there to our viewers who are obviously in their homes and watching at this point, towards today, that's commemorating the Nigerian worker. What would that message be?
First of all, reflect on what you are doing or what you have been doing. Think if there are better ways to do what you're doing. Take care of yourself, because the system doesn't really care so much, Look after yourself and have some plan for yourself. Take today to think about this. Take today to be sure that you're doing the right thing. Take today to think about your next 5 years. If you're about to retire in the next 10 years, begin now to plan yourself. Don't wait till the day you retire, you want to start a business that you know nothing about and you end up crashing yourself. Expose yourself, read materials. Try to help yourself, because the system will only work when you are trying so much to help yourself. If you allow the system alone to do it for you, you may end up getting stranded. I think it's a reflective day for me. I don't think it's more of a celebration, but reflection. Yes, we salute the doggedness of these people who've put in some 35 years, some 20, some 10. They've been the engine room of both our economy, of both the government. They've really done well. Like workers should be praised. Every worker should get a thumbs up. If not for anything, at least for today, they should get a thumbs up.
Indeed, workers, like in the words of my guest, should be celebrated, but indeed today should also be a day of reflection, to think about what it is you've done so far, the direction you are going, to ensure that you are on the right path. I have been speaking with the Public Affairs Analyst, Onyinye Umejiburu, and he has spoken insightfully as to the plight of the Nigerian workers. Thank you very much for all the insight you've shared this morning.
Pleasure.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains on this episode of Business Daily. Join the conversation on social media and let us hear your thoughts. How are you celebrating today, or how are you spending your public holiday that is today? Join the conversation and let us hear your thoughts. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.